still don't get it. If we're in the middle of nowhere, how come we got this big honking dish? You know.
Far Cry. The original 2004 release was one of the first games I bought after building my first gaming PC. It was born from a time when games were all about pushing the limits of hardware, whether it be Half-Life 2's physics or Doom 3's lighting. Far Cry incorporated the best of both worlds into an open-ended tropical setting that let you explore by land, sea, and air, and dispatch enemies through stealth, distance, or guns blazing. It was the birth of the Cry engine, and to play this in 2004 was to be blinded by the sheer awe of the lifelike vistas, as your GPU caught fire struggling to pump out 10 frames a second. See, Far Cry 1 never actually came out on console. Instead, we got Far Cry Instincts for the Xbox in 2005, and then Far Cry Instincts Predator 6 months later on the 360. But these weren't ports of Far Cry 1. They were remakes, tailored for the original Xbox's hardware. It wouldn't be until 2014 the Xbox 360 would finally get a proper port of the original Far Cry in the form of Far Cry Classic. Yeah, 2014. Which, for reference, this game came out 3 months after the Xbox One launched. But better late than never, I guess. And, oh boy. It's a mixed bag. Somehow, despite coming out a full decade later, the game still does not look nearly as good as the original, and there are some legitimately problematic graphical issues. To be fair, this is a 360 release, and the 360 only came out a year after the original Far Cry, so the hardware isn't that much newer than the original game. But still, I would have hoped that 10 years of engine updates and optimization improvements would have resulted in a better looking port. But enough complaining, that's not what we're here for, so let's take a look at the achievements. Like any good achievement whore, the first thing I looked for was a difficulty achievement, which this game has. The True Achievements entry recommends playing the game first on easy to get a hang of the controls and the pacing, but this ain't my first rodeo with the game, so I'll boost it up to medium for my first playthrough. Actually, don't be a fool like me. Do your first playthrough on easy. That was a mistake on my part, and you'll see why in a bit. The rest of the achievements are either for completing certain tasks during specific missions, or just kind of generic achievements like survive a long fall or get a really distant headshot. So we'll just play through the game and attempt to rack up as many achievements as possible in that first playthrough, and then sweep up the rest using level select. And then we'll finish it off with a hard mode playthrough. So the game begins in this bizarre, stylized cinematic with zero dialogue, so let me just explain the premise. You are Jack. Jack drive boat for money. News lady Val hires Jack to drive boat to island. Val leave, boat blow up. Get it? Got it? Good. The story in this game is really not worth writing home about, so I'm really just gonna gloss over it like that. So I start the game in the bowels of a beached Japanese aircraft carrier from World War II. I climb my way out while the game throws all these basic tutorial prompts at me, and then I find this conveniently placed radio and pistol just kind of sitting on a table there with some goober on the other end telling me to pick up. His name's Doyle, and he's going to be my Cortana, or more aptly my Atlas, for the rest of the game. I somehow escape the ancient ship tetanus-free and emerge facing a couple of huts with patrolling mercenaries. My first taste of combat was rough. The aiming definitely feels like a 2004 console shooter, except, again, this game came out in 2014. There isn't much acceleration, and the joystick dead zones feel a little too big for my liking, so the controls just end up feeling really stiff and awkward, especially at close range. You get your first assault rifle here too, and the bullet spread feels egregious. You can have a headshot perfectly lined up and still miss. But then I realized why. See, in the original Far Cry, there was no ADS. You could only zoom in a little bit. But your bullet spread was always confined to the sizable reticle. I'm so conditioned to thinking that my gun becomes a laser when I ADS from, every other shooter that I play, that this takes some getting used to. But alas, I make do. I move up a little bit more to find a pair of binoculars that can do the classic Far Cry tagging system, which is indispensable later on in the night missions, when visibility is super low. I assault a small village of mercenaries and steal a car, which is where we can get our first achievement, Uneven Terrain, for running over 5 enemies. First-person driving is always tough for me, but thankfully the AI don't really bother trying to get out of the way while you speed towards them. There isn't much more to say about this level achievement-wise, so I just finish it out and I end up swimming into a hole in the side of an old tanker, which caps off the level and gets you your first story-related achievement, Re-enlisted. The next level has you fight your way through the cramped, dark corridors of the tanker, and along the way you discover that Val has been captured and taken to a bunker. I shoot my way to the top of the tanker and I find a boat chained to the ship that I can use to reach the bunker. I hit X like 100 times to try to push the boat into the water, like the prompt says, but nothing happens. I try shooting the chain mechanism that holds the boat too, and guess what? Nothing happens. So I run around like a dumbass thinking it's glitched, and I even fall off the boat at one point and have to reload at checkpoint, only to find out that I'm supposed to shoot the chain links. Whatever. The next mission begins with you traveling by said boat, and this is a solid opportunity to get a kill while piloting a boat for the achievement Oceanic Vista, which requires you to get a kill from a land, sea, and air vehicle. I fight my way inland and through an old Imperial fort, and after exploring these mercs' taste in literature, I emerge atop a hillside. This is where we get the next achievement, Spec Ops Training, which requires you to not die to an onslaught of enemies while Doyle, remotely hacks the fort's door. This might seem daunting, but if you know where to look, it's pretty simple. So grab the rocket launcher by the bunker door and hop over to this gun emplacement. Blast the first boat that arrives once it stops moving, and then do the same for the second boat. The second boat will shoot rockets back, so do your best to dodge them, but if you ultimately die, you can just reload the save from when you emerge from that tunnel, and you're good to go. So as long as you load a checkpoint from before Doyle starts hacking the door, you should be okay. Once both boats are toast, turn to the left and use your last rocket to blast the helicopter before it can drop off troops. Then hop on the mounted machine gun and spray down the second chopper until you kill the gunner, which will prompt it to leave. And boom, you're golden. The achievement should pop once Doyle finishes hacking the door. Go into the fort, plant the bomb, run for it, that ends the level. And right at the start of the next level, you can net 2 achievements. First off, just immediately run to the right and yeet yourself off the cliff into the water below to get the flight simulation achievement. Then you can reload your save and do what the developers intended, which was to use this hand glider to get to your next objective. Here you can get your aerial kill for the Oceanic Vista achievement. But fair warning, it's a little rough because of the aforementioned aiming controls, but you can always reload a save. I admittedly misremembered that there was like a helicopter turret section later in the game, which I assumed was where I was supposed to get the aerial kill for this achievement. So I actually had to go and mop up this achievement on a second playthrough, but let's pretend that I got it on the first try. Blast your way into the jungle and just follow your objectives until you reach this tower. Kill the guard, grab his sniper. You're gonna need it in a second. You can snipe dudes in the camp below with it, but just be sure to save at least 1 bullet. So clear the camp, steal a vehicle like the mission tells you to do, and if you didn't get your 5 road kills for that earlier achievement, here's another opportunity. If you follow the road, you'll reach this blockade in front of a stream. Stop here, get out of the jeep, and whip out those binos. Up ahead, you'll see a guard tower, and the binoculars will actually tell you how far away it is. Back up until you're over 500 meters away, and then swap to your sniper, and line up your headshot for the long distance correspondence achievement. And then go ahead and finish the level for another achievement.
You must be Jack.
The beginning of next level is where you can get the only stealth related achievement. You need to sneak past all these mercs and obtain a keycard in this little hut without being spotted. Now, this is where my hubris failed me. No matter what strategy I attempted or what guide I followed, the mercs always spotted me. I got pretty close at one point, only to accidentally bash my trigger on my desk and alert everybody, but this achievement seemed borderline impossible, and I realized the issue was simply that the AI's hearing and vision codes were just really fucking good on every difficulty other than easy. On easy mode, they're borderline blind. So I just gave up on this one and decided to come back to it on a second easy playthrough. Outside of this achievement, there's not really anything else of note on this level aside from this guy with funny arms. Oh, and also there are mutants now, I guess? Yeah, that might be a shock to you if you've only ever played later Far Cry games, but yeah, Far Cry has mutant primates, and they're kind of a fucking bitch of an enemy. It turns out the mercs on the island work for a mad scientist named Krieger, who's trying to unlock the next stage in evolution. It's like a classic Island of Dr. Moreau thing. I guess I never really considered how absurd this game is, like story-wise, compared to every other entry in the series. But anyway, let's hop to the next level, Treehouse. There's an achievement to beat this level without dying, and it can be kind of tricky, so I'll give you the play-by-play. I'd advise staying up in the trees and avoiding ground level because it's swarming with mutants. Use your binoculars to sweep the area and tag enemies from a distance, and do your best to deal with them from a decent range. A solid pro tip is to lay prone when shooting from a distance, because it drastically improves the bullet spread. Eventually you'll make it to the gatehouse where you'll be forced to fight some mutants in super tight spaces. They have this annoying leap attack, so try to keep something between you and them at all times, because if they have a straight shot to you, they're gonna take it. So restore power, open the gates to the helipad, and then take the elevator down. At this point, I was at less than half health and it was not looking good, but I took it super slow and I stayed in cover until I could find some armor. I grabbed a jeep and I sprayed down the merc checkpoint from a safe distance, inching a little closer with each kill and then backing up if it got too hot. I hopped out of the jeep and then I started tagging enemies with the binos before popping them from a distance. Again, moving super slow, taking my time. I grabbed the explosives, I climbed the tower to see if there was anyone else I could snipe. Then this happened.
Surprise, motherfucker!
My balls sucked into my body. That scared the shit out of me. I had to pause the game to regain my composure. While I was scanning the area with the binos from up there, I ended up tanking a sniper round that probably would have killed me if I didn't have full armor. But from there I sniped every guy I could see before crossing the bridge and blowing up the wall. Inside the fort, I took cover behind this shelf and tree and kind of played peekaboo with the chopper till I could kill the gunner and force it to leave. And voila, got the achievement. Had a few close calls, but again, if you're smart, unlike me, and chose easy mode, your run will probably go smoother. The next level, Bunker, is a straightforward, linear, indoors level, so there's nothing much to note except for this weird encounter I had with a teleporting dude. What the fuck? What? Where did he come from? But there is one specific achievement to get here. Towards the end of the level, you'll enter a room with a glass window in front of you and see a bunch of mutants in cages and mercs guarding them. If you ignore them and head left up the stairs and activate this panel, it'll unlock the cages and let the muties and the mercs brawl for the Bonding Experiences achievement. Finishing this level, it's revealed to you that the chick who hired you, Val, is actually working for the CIA to investigate and disrupt Krieger's research. She kicks you in the face to save you from dying like Kobe, and you wash up on shore just in time to see her do a very uncomfortable and unnecessarily sexy jaunt out of the ocean. Whatever. The next two levels, Steam and Regulator, they're not super notable aside from the fact that they give you the infrared goggles, which will help immensely as it is now nighttime on the island. But there's no achievements here, so just play through them and have fun getting lost and insta-killed by Steam. The next level, Rebellion, has the mutants and mercs battling it out on the island as you fight your way through both. There's no achievements here, but there is another hand glider part here, so you can get your aerial kill for the Oceanic Vista achievement if you missed it the first time. Archive is another tight and very enclosed level. There's no specific achievements on this level, but it was here that I unlocked the Who Hurt Me achievement for beating a level with full health and full armor. If you don't get this achievement naturally, a good place to pick it up is the second level, the one where you have to shoot the chained boat at the end. Since shooting that chained boat down is functionally what ends the level, you can just fight your way through to that part, and then before you actually free the boat, just run back down into the tanker and pick up all the armor and health that was dropped by enemies along the way. The next 3 levels have no achievements tied to them, so we're going to skip ahead to the level River. There's this extended boat section where you, well, travel down a river, and honestly, it's a little hard, even on medium. Whenever I would get stuck, I would just dismount on any scrap of land I could find and use cover, because you're just way too exposed on the boat itself. At the end of this level, you're forced to move forward on foot and leave your boat behind. And after taking out this patrol of 4 mercs, you'll finally reach the secondary villain, this douchebag in the cowboy hat, Crow. There's an achievement for killing him with a headshot, and I don't know if his AI is specifically programmed to hide until all his buddies are dead, but I couldn't line up a good shot. So I took out all of his buddies before slowly creeping around to get an angle, and
Boom. Headshot.
the next mission, Swamp, is sort of an escort mission, and there's an achievement for beating it without Valerie dying. The first encounter is open enough that you can take out most of the enemies from a distance without putting Val at risk, but this leads into a turret section, and that can be really infuriating because the aiming is, once again, really stiff. So that, combined with the fact that you're in a moving Jeep and shooting at targets that are also moving, makes for some god-awful, embarrassingly bad gunplay. I managed to make it past this section, and this is where it gets a little tricky. We have to get inside this base, which means some close quarters combat is ahead of us, which is obviously going to put Val at risk. So I figured the best way to approach this is stealth. I take out my trusty silenced MP5, and I sneak around to the right where there's only 1 guard outside. I take him out, and then I go in through the side door and blast the mook across the hallway. And then I Vincent Vega the dude to the left taking a shit. I heard someone coming to investigate, so I sprayed them down too, and then I popped upstairs and banged a right and let Val do her hacking job. Now it's her turn to escort me. Ugh. I followed her to the back door, and my heart dropped for a second as she started getting shot while also blocking the door, so I couldn't actually get out there to help. But I squeezed past and got him. We enter the next area, and then tragedy strikes. I don't fully clear my corners. There was actually a guy right here, and I didn't see him. We get sandwiched. My MP5's bullet spread is out of control past like 10 feet, and before I can even realize what's happening, that bitch dies. Reloading a checkpoint will obviously void the achievement, and I don't feel like starting the entire level over again. So I instead just plan to use level select and play through this again on easy to get this achievement. Which I later learn is not actually something you can do. So we'll get to that. So I finish out the swamp mission and I move on to Factory, which is an uneventful level. There's no achievements here. But then we're thrown into Dam. This is a tricky level, because there's an achievement for beating it without ever picking up a weapon. See, you start this mission captured by the mad scientist behind all the mutants, who obviously disarms you, and then in true Bond villain fashion, instead of just outright killing you, he kicks you out of a helicopter. Again. He's nice enough to drop you a gun, but unfortunately for the achievement, we gotta leave it behind. This mission will essentially feel like a speed run, like a mad dash to the exit, and it's pretty rough. As the mission started, I just juked this first mutant and jumped off the cliff into the river below. I followed it upstream while being chased, and made it to this chopper, which triggered a cutscene. Now, thankfully you are allowed to use mounted weapons without voiding the achievement, so I hopped on the minigun here and cleared out the mutants between me and the walls. Then I sprinted up the hill, hugging the right side, snuck through a break in the fence, and I made it past the fortified walls. Here there's this armory where I need to pick up a keycard, and this almost felt like a trap. Putting the keycard so close to all of these weapons was dangerous, but I stuck to the fence and I grabbed the keycard, and then I also nabbed a cheeky little health kit and left. The next part took me a couple tries because it's a vehicle section, and first-person driving is very hard for me. I couldn't see what was in front of me half the time because the camera just kept shifting down to look at the steering wheel. I drove into the lava like 10 times before just fucking getting out and running for it, and still falling into the lava. But eventually I found the winning path. Instead of finding a safe way down this mountain, I just kind of slid down and then sprinted past all the enemies who were just riddling me with bullets, and I made it to the door just in time. I think I actually died just as I triggered the mission complete here, but I got the achievement and that's all that matters. Now we're on to the last level. I kit myself out in the armory to the left and fight my way through the first room before reaching who is essentially the final boss. This is where we get the achievement for killing Krieger. And to be honest, he's not that hard. Just be careful if you use a rocket launcher or grenades because Val is actually just standing right there and the splash damage can kill her and insta-fail the mission. I figured the best way to do this would be to avoid Krieger himself until I killed all of his lackeys. But in the process of doing that, he just sort of jumped in front of me. So I sprayed him down and he just kind of died. It's kind of a pushover of a last boss, if I'm being honest, which seems to be a running theme for this channel. You kill Krieger, and in a final plot twist, you discover that Atlas is actually Fontaine. Doyle is actually a bad guy, and he used you to kill Krieger, and now wants to sell the mutant serum to the highest bidder. The last section is a doozy, and to be frank, it feels a little lazy. The arena is a cool lava zone with a raised platform in the middle, but then they just chuck like 10 of these giant rocket launcher mutants at you, and they take 1,000,000 bullets to kill. And then once you finally get up to that platform, they throw a couple rocket launcher mercs your way that insta-kill you. It's all kind of lame, it just feels like artificial difficulty. But the rocket launcher mercs are literally the last enemies, so I just busted out all of my firepower and spammed rockets and grenades to clear them out. After that, the final enemy, well, it's just Doyle. He's not decked out in a mech suit or drugged up on mutant steroids. He's just there. So I just run up and stab him and get the Call Drops achievement, which is for killing the traitor with the melee weapon. And that's the end of the game. So where does that leave us achievement-wise? Well, I still have 3 achievements to mop up before I start my hard playthrough. So let me just change the difficulty down to easy and go to level select and... Wait, how do I change the difficulty? No, it's not the options. Well, it turns out you can't. To change the difficulty, I'd have to start an entirely new campaign save from the beginning on that difficulty. This is why I recommended not being a dumbass like me and playing on easy mode from the start, because that one stealth achievement is borderline impossible on anything but easy mode. One of the other achievements that I missed, the one for beating the escort level without Val dying, it's like the 4th mission from the end, so I decided to just reload and get that one on medium difficulty instead of playing all the way up to that mission on easy mode, which, thankfully, I managed to get it on my first try. But for the stealth achievement, I need to do that on easy, so I started a new campaign on easy mode, I popped on a podcast, and I just kind of sped through the first couple missions. I got the stealth achievement, and I also finally got my aerial kill, the Oceanic Vista achievement that I missed completely on my first playthrough. Now all that's left is beating the game on hard, and let me tell you, this was a journey. I could make an entire video just on playing through this game on hard mode, and honestly, I might. I've thought about making standalone videos that just cover single, super difficult achievements to kind of diversify my content, so if that's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. My hard mode playthrough took me almost double the amount of time that the first playthrough and a half did. And if I had to guess, I'd put my death count in the hundreds. The game is brutal on hard, and that isn't even the highest difficulty. Enemies become bullet sponges, stealth isn't even an option anymore, mutants kill you in 2 hits. It's really rough. There is a way to cheese the hard mode achievement where you basically abuse cloud saves to think that your easy mode save is actually on hard difficulty, but I ain't no bitch. I powered through on hard, and I have a lot of advice for specific encounters in hard mode, but this video is long enough as it is. So my general advice is keep your distance, go prone to reduce bullet spread, and fuck vehicles. They are far too clunky to utilize on hard mode. But anyway, that's Far Cry Classic. 400 out of 400 points. Is it as good as the PC version? No. Was it still a fun trip down memory lane? Yeah, I think so. Far Cry is a series that's become a little too dead set in its formula these days, and it was fun going back to the original and seeing what the DNA of the series was really about. If you're still here, thanks for watching, truly. My channel's pretty small, so every view counts, every subscriber, every comment, every like, it all goes a long way. So, thank you. More videos on the way.